Great. Welcome to all of our students. My name is Sive and I am the acting marketing manager in the International Affairs Office in NUI Galway. And I'm joined by Ashwin and Tariq, students in our College of Business, Public Policy and Law. Ashwin here is studying an MSc in Information Systems and Tariq is studying International Accounting and Analytics MSc. So today we're going to give you a little bit of an introduction into the university and get you starting to think about what kind of things you need to prepare before you arrive, so that you're all informed. Hopefully all of our students today will engage with us, so you can actually type in your questions into the comments box in the top right hand corner of the screen, and we will have our staff here feeding us questions at the end of the session. For those of you who've sent in questions in advance, we have actually integrated as many as possible into our presentation today, and we will be answering those for you. Okay, so to give you a bit of an introduction to the university, NUI Galway is located in Galway, which is in the west coast of Ireland. You can see our map of Ireland here behind us. So we're about 2.5 hours away from Dublin on a bus. Ireland is a really small country, so you can get pretty much everywhere in just a couple hours in a car or in a bus or on a train. And we are ranked in the top 1% of universities worldwide, which is obviously amazing for you students who are holding offers, because you know you're going to be studying in a world-class university. So starting off, guys, I'll just give you an introduction to the structure of today's Q&A. So I'm going to talk to you through absolutely everything you need to know before you arrive, and then some of the interesting topics to know about for after you arrive. Okay, so we're going to talk about how to accept your offer, how to pay your fees, kind of give you an idea about how to budget properly and look at the cost of living in Galway for an academic year. And we're going to look at study visa applications, how you apply for health insurance, and one of the most popular questions that we've been getting for students is how to source accommodation. So we will cover that as well. After you arrive, we will cover, registering with immigration in Ireland, our student orientation sessions, how you go about opening a bank account, getting a phone, all of that interesting information. And then working in Ireland, how to get a job after you finish, and the overall student experience. So we're actually going to be swapping out some of our students so that we could get as much information as possible for you guys throughout the session. So before you arrive, paying your fees and, kind of the general cost of living. So there are a number of different ways to pay your fees, but if you have an offer at the moment, don't forget that all of this information will be listed on your offer letter, okay? So there are a number of different ways that you can pay your fees. The recommended option for you would be using pay to study, okay? We are strongly advising all of our students to use pay to study. It takes less than 48 hours to process payments this way, and it is accepted as proof of payment by the Irish National Immigration Service INIS for study visa applications. Okay, so that is good to know. That is one of the best reasons to choose pay to study. Okay, you can also just kind of submit a bank transfer. All of that information, again, like I said, will be on your offer letter. And there is an online card payment option as well for students with more information on your offer letter. But we would advise you that if you are planning to use this method, that you would contact the international office for further information about that. Okay, you will be able to get all of the contact information for the international office at the end of this session, or maybe my colleagues might type our international admissions email address into the comments box for us now. So fees questions. So one of our students has actually asked a question in advance. They're wondering, is the fee situation for non-EU students structured in a way that payment in installments are acceptable? The quick answer to that is no. You have to pay all of your fees before you register as a student at NUI Galway. Another thing to note is to ensure that you have at least €6,000 of your fees paid before you apply for your visa, because you will have to show proof of this for your visa application. The general cost of living is, I suppose it varies a lot depending on what your spending habits are. I'm sure my students here can concur with me on this. And I'm going to tell you about what we recommend, and then the lads can kind of give you an indication of whether or not they think that that is kind of acceptable to them. So we would ask students to budget at least €400 a month for accommodation. Okay, this varies a lot depending on what kind of accommodation you're actually staying in for the year. We will give you more information on accommodation options later on in the presentation. We would also ask students, like as an overall general figure, to have budgeted at least €1,000 to €1,200 a month. That sounds like a lot, okay? Don't worry, because this, like I said, this will vary on your spending habits. So some students spend maybe less than, maybe around half of that depending on your habits and how you eat. Obviously, if you're good at cooking and you're living with other students that like to cook, there are options for you to share the groceries and share the cooking. Do you do that, guys?
Yeah, obviously I share my house with housemates, so it's like very budgeting. We cook ourselves. It's very handy. I won't say it's that much costly for cooking.
Yeah.
It's very handy though.
Good, good, good. And you?
Till now, I have eaten out like just for 3 times till
Just
now
3 times.
in 8 months. So
very good.
I'm pretty much enabled for cooking. So
Yeah.
I prefer cooking myself. I
Great.
love that. Yeah, I
Great.
love that. I love cooking.
Even if you don't know cooking, you can just come here and learn cooking.
Yeah, exactly. And if you do like to eat out, there are some fabulous restaurants in Galway. I'm sure you guys will agree.
There are pretty much Asian and Indian restaurants over here. So if you want to just go out and eat, it's always there. Many takeaways are also there.
Yeah.
You also get halal food if you prefer that.
Yes.
You also have pure vegetarian options and pure vegan options. So it's not a hassle at all.
No.
Food is not a hassle at all here.
Okay, great.
Yeah.
And generally, guys, you won't have to budget a lot for things like books and study materials. You'll need to budget a little bit for it. We estimate maybe to have at least, I think, about €60 a month. That's an overestimation. Generally, the only thing you'll be spending in relation to study materials will be on like pens, paper, notepads, and then printing facilities on, using the printing facilities on campus. That would be probably one of the only other things that you'd spend. Yeah?
It's pretty decent over on campus though. It's like 10 cents per page. It doesn't cost much.
Okay.
It's very decent in printing and on campus outside.
Great, great. In relation to laundry, most of your student accommodation options will have like laundry facilities built into them. So you'll be using maybe a little bit more in electricity rather than outsourcing your laundry options, but there are both there if you need it. And recreational spend is totally up to you. Okay, so you can spend anything from €50 a week or €10 a week to €200 a week, depending on how much you want to. But that is a really personal decision. We just want to ensure, like I said, that all students are budgeting accordingly to make sure that they're not stuck for anything when they do get here, because that would be unfortunate. Okay, so anything else you have to add there on budgeting, guys? Any tips?
It's pretty much up to you how much you are spending, how much you are managing. So don't worry much about it.
Great.
You will survive.
Yeah, great. So we'll move on to applying for your study visa. And it will be from a visa required country. Okay, so we do have a list of visa exempt countries available on our international office website, and there will be one also available from on the INIS website as well. Okay, so if you are preparing a visa application at the moment, okay, there are certain documents and things you'll need to prepare. One of the most important things that you'll need to prepare will be your finances. Okay, you'll need to have proof of finances, not only to cover your tuition but also your living expenses for the year. So please don't forget about that. Okay, we will give you kind of a recommended cost of living and spend with your offer letter. Again, if you didn't get it the first time, maybe send us an email for clarification. Some students like the breakdown, so we do have a letter for that as well. Okay, for the visa office. So make sure that you have all of that prepared before you submit your application. Okay, you'll need a passport valid for at least 12 months, a signed summary of your online application form, passport photos, a letter of acceptance from the university, so that will be your university offer letter, exam results and transcripts along with qualification certificates and so on. Okay, we will have a full list of this information available, again, like you mentioned, on the website, and we can email you this presentation or a presentation with all of this information after the event today. And please don't forget, we will be sending all of our students, all of our accepted students, a pre-arrival guide with more information on this before you get here in plenty of time to prepare. But what we do say for any students who do require a visa, apply as soon as you can. Okay, so you will have either a 3-month or a 4-month window, depending on where you're applying from, to apply for your visa. And we want all students to be as prepared as possible for this, okay? The later you leave it, the longer it's going to take the visa office or the embassy to actually process your application, and then that can delay things further down the line. So we want all students to be as prepared as possible and start submitting their applications now. We do have a question from a student that came in advance today, and he says, how can I help in drafting the visa application in such a way that there is no chance of confusion or rejection? Now, guys, this is a difficult question for me to answer, okay? NUI Galway has absolutely no control over the visa office decisions. Okay, unfortunately, as much as I would like to help you with that, we can't do very much. However, we can give you all of the material that you need to provide in advance to try and help you prepare. If you are using an education consultancy or an agent, or you have a counsellor helping you with your application, okay, they may be able to provide advice for you. If you are not with an agent and you would like to sign up with one, for example, we have a list of agents that we are partnering with in various different countries available on the International Office website, and my colleagues can send you the link to that if you have any questions. Okay, just let us know what country you're applying from and we can send you the link to the country specific page. Okay, guys, do you have anything to add on the visa application process?
Yeah, I just don't want you guys to panic to check for the results. I know every Tuesday the visa is outdating their results, so it takes 2 weeks from 4 weeks. It depends. It completely depends on the embassy because there are lots of applications. So I'll say stay relaxed. Wait until your turn comes. Be relaxed.
That's very good advice.
Because I also remember all the sleepless nights which I've spent after submitting my visa until it was approved. So just relax and take it easy. Visa officer doesn't, they want you to go ahead and study.
Yeah.
So relax, take your time. The faster you apply for it, the sooner you apply for it, the better it will be for you.
Exactly.
Because initially, I remember the list was open once in a week, but during the last 1 month, the lists were getting out every day with more rejections, more panic, more hassle.
Yeah.
So the sooner you apply, the better you are in the position.
Exactly.
Yeah.
As I mentioned, make sure you have all the financial documents ready. If you have each and every document, no panic, you'll get your visa on time.
Yeah, just get your finances right. The fund should be around, for me, the fund should be around, if you're not on loan, the fund should be around 3 months prior. The source should be known 3 months prior to the date of application of visa. And if you are on loan, education loan, then the full amount, it was full amount for things like how it was. The full amount the full amount has to be disbursed before we apply for the visa thing. So just make sure of these two things.
For get your visa done, you have to pay 6,000 euros of your college fees, so that you'll get your visa done. Once your visa done, before you register with NUI Galway, you have to pay your full tuition fees, so that you can register your student and you will get a student's card here. So as I said, I'll quickly wrap up what are documents required: offer letter, passport copy, financial documents, 3 years of your who is sponsoring you, like if your mom or dad sponsoring you, their financial documents. If you get a bank loan, detailed documents from a bank manager stating he approves the loan, a letter from him. I think these are documents.
And loan disbursement also.
Yeah. Yes.
Loan has to be disbursed.
And one thing that I will say, guys, is the more work you put into your visa application the first time, the better chance that you have of getting approved the first time. Okay, so if you don't put in enough detail the first time, there is a possibility that it may be rejected, and that delays the whole process. Okay, so the more work you put in, like we said, in detail, is definitely going to pay off in the long run.
Yeah.
Okay. Moving on. Okay, so the next thing that you have to think about before you arrive is your health insurance. This is actually a requirement as well for your visa. If you're coming from a visa required country, you will be required to show evidence of health insurance. Okay, so some questions that we've had from students over the last couple of days include: what is the best medical insurance policy? So at the moment, we are recommending that students get Medicover, as Medicover will be accepted by the Garda National Immigration Bureau and by the Visa Office. Okay, so students can get cover. I think it costs around 120 to 170 euros, and you need to insure yourself for, is it 30,000 euros?
30,000 euros.
30,000 euros. Okay, cover. So students that wish to get their visa, they will need to have this in advance, and you will find the link to Medicover on the NUI Galway website. Again, we can send this to you via email also. There will be, again, another link to this and more information in your pre-arrival guide. So don't panic too much, but if you are starting to look at preparing your visa application, this is one of the things that you should be considering. For those students who are looking to come to Galway and are not coming from a visa required country, you will actually have to have your insurance, like I mentioned, to register with the Garda National Immigration Bureau, even if you don't need a visa to enter the country. So you do have an option of signing up with one of the Irish insurance companies. Okay. If you want to do that, again, we have a list of the different companies that do medical insurance for students on the website and in the pre-arrival guides. Okay, I think that covers all the other students. Are there any specific companies which have tie-up with NUI Galway for providing insurance? The one that we recommend would be Medicover, but there are a number of other options for you. Okay, again, listed on our website. And we don't actually offer it as part of your fees package or your tuition or anything like that. That was another question that we got in. Okay, moving on to accommodation. This is an area I think that we're going to spend quite a bit of time talking about today. A lot of students have sent in questions around accommodation in advance. So what I will do is go through the questions in advance first, and then we'll talk about our experiences here finding accommodation in NUI Galway. So one of the first questions that we got in what ways does the university assist with housing? So for example, the university has an accommodation office, okay? The staff that work in the accommodation office are there to support students, okay? Irish students and international students. We have on-campus accommodation, but unfortunately the on-campus accommodation is now booked out, okay? But that does not mean that the accommodation office can no longer help you, okay? So one of the things that we recommend for international students is to pre-book a hostel or temporary accommodation for at least a week before you arrive, okay? So to make sure that you have something booked in advance, temporary accommodation like a hostel or a B&B or something like that, so that when you arrive, you have a little bit of room and time and comfort to find something. We do not recommend that students prepay for accommodation for the full year to a private rental landlord. Okay, that could open you up to a lot of different circumstances that are outside of the university's control. Okay, so private rental properties unfortunately is something that we have absolutely no control over. Okay, so we don't want you to hand over any money or anything like that, okay, before you actually get to come to Ireland, see a property, view it, get a tour from the landlord, and actually get handed the keys. Once you get handed the keys, you hand them the money and you should be fine, okay? But before then, it's not a good idea to pre-book in advance, just in case anything goes wrong. Okay, there are a number of privately owned student residences in and around Galway. Some of those are booked up at the moment. There may be one or two that are not fully booked at the moment, but you can find all of the information and details on the website, and my colleagues can post a link to the accommodation office website now into the comments box for you. Okay, so you can explore them. Question just came in here from is a compass. Okay, so this is a tricky question as well.
I'm happy to answer this.
Will you answer? Okay.
Yeah, cool. So it entirely depends. For example, I would say for Cork Village, it takes 550 euros per month. So if you book accommodation near private or book a house outside the campus, I would say it depends on the location where you get the accommodation. Personally, I got my house for 280 euros, but it's not like everyone gets the house. It depends. I travel like 5 miles away. It's pretty decent to get accommodation. I would say the rough estimate, just set in your mind, it varies from 400 to 450 euros. I don't want to give you a false statement. It varies between 400 to 450. I would say the private house is much handy as compared to college.
Okay.
Cork Village.
Cork Village. So one thing I would say about Cork Village, Ashwin, is that some of the rooms might be around 550, but the cheapest room in Cork Village is in and around 400 euros a month. Okay.
Yes.
Yeah. Because there is an option for you to get a sharing room. So if you get a sharing room, it's a little bit cheaper. In off-campus accommodation, your estimates would be fairly accurate. So there are students that spend a little bit less, like in and around 280 would be on the much lower end of the scale. Okay, and that would probably be in a house with lots of other students. And like you said, that little bit further away
from the campus.
Yeah. So if you want something super central, Galway is a really small city. Okay, so there are a lot of options for student accommodation really close to the campus, and you can walk to a lot of them. Might take you 25 minutes to walk around, but that is still within walking distance for Irish people.
We are also used for the walking, you know, like after coming here, we can walk like 20-25 minutes. Like it makes us used to this Irish.
Yeah.
It's good though.
It's
getting
good,
a fresh air, walking, it makes us as a hobby though.
Yeah, and healthy. And there are options to cycle around as well and buy a cheap bicycle and things like that. So you generally can get something within walking distance, but the walking distance, again, will be like relative to how much you like to walk. And what we will say to students is start researching your options now. Okay, so we did say that a lot of the student residences are fully booked, and all of our on-campus accommodation, unfortunately, is fully booked at the moment. So start looking at your options in the private sector, but again, make sure you're not paying any money in advance before you get here. We would recommend that you're here at least minimum a week before orientation, which is the 3rd of September this year, okay? So that you can stay in a hostel, have something booked in advance, and look around, go viewing apartments, have a list of the different, accommodations that you might like to visit before you get here, if possible. I know that might not be possible, but just start, researching your options. When you get here, you can come to the accommodation office for tailored advice. Now, the accommodation office will give you as much advice as they possibly can and help you as much as they can, but they cannot source your accommodation for you in advance off campus, okay? So they can't, for example, if you ring them, go and view a house for you and get the keys and keep them for you, okay? Now, as much as we'd love to offer that service in the future, that is not something that is currently available, unfortunately. So they will advise you as much as they can. They're really, really super. Our staff here go above and beyond to help you. So just to be aware, please don't panic in advance. Just prepare yourself. What do you think?
Okay, that's really good. As I said, before coming here, just book a hostel. There are so many hostels. Make my trip, which you get like 80 euros for 8 to 9 days. I'd say, for example, Banakal, Savai sleeps one of the best hostels. It's in the center of the city. So book a hostel before a week. Just try to find in draft. There are so many websites, or else you can pop to accommodation office. They are really super. They are really effective working on it. They are working really hard to get as many list of houses which is around Galway. It's really super. So if you check, I would say it's not that hard. It's quite challenging, but I won't say it's that much hard to get a house. I'd say within 3 to 4 days you'll get a house.
Well, that's also a part of learning, house
Exactly.
hunting.
Yes, house hunting. It's a growing up experience, a life experience.
Yeah.
So all we're saying, guys, is make sure you're as prepared as possible to help the process go as smoothly as it possibly can for you before you actually get here. And if you have any questions, please let us know and contact either the accommodation office directly or ourselves in the international office. Now, my colleagues have just informed me that unfortunately we can't post live links to the group chat, but if you do have questions, let us know and we can actually communicate them with you after today via email, or we can do some live posts on Facebook or something like that. Okay. Another question that has just come in here: how do you walk around in snowing weather?
Well, there's not much of snow in Galway, but we were lucky or unlucky, whatever you want to say. After 30 years, the whole Galway was full of snow.
Yeah.
So you shouldn't worry much about snow. What you should worry about is about rain. You should be prepared for rains, not the snow.
You can perfectly explain about the snow.
Yeah.
Can you walk around?
So you can walk around very easily in snow, but it very rarely snows in Ireland. We had one big snowstorm this year in around February time, March time, and that was very, very rare. First time in a long time that something like that happened.
For 4 days it was snowing.
Yeah, for 4 days it was snowing, and it was beautiful. It was really, really nice. So it's easy to walk around if you're careful and if you have the right attire, but I wouldn't be worried about preparing for the snow. But that was a really good point that Tarek made about preparing for the rain.
Yeah, rains every day.
Not every day.
Okay, twice a day.
No, so it rains a lot, unfortunately. But that's because we're coastal. So the university is only about 10 minutes away from the Atlantic Ocean. So we get a lot of precipitation here in Galway. But it makes the grass green and the air beautiful and clean, and it's actually really beautiful.
That's beautiful.
Yes. Yeah.
To be honest, it won't be a bad rain. It won't be a bad rain. So rain, you can just manage and you can walk around. If you come here after 1 month, you'll just used to this.
Yeah.
Living on the West Coast is like one of your lifetime experiences, I would say. It's one of the best experiences I've ever had. Like quite a bit of traveling and everything, but living on the West Coast is an experience in itself.
Yeah,
it's lovely.
Even despite the rain.
Even despite the rain, I don't care. It's lovely.
Yeah, it is lovely. And if you have the right gear, like if you have one thing, I would say this will again be in your pre-arrival pack. But one thing you need to pack is a really good raincoat, or you can buy it here. Actually, there's lots of places you can buy it here and at a very affordable price.
That's very cheap. In pennies, the cheapest you get is around 14 euros.
Yeah, you can get something
That's
good.
a really effective one.
Yeah, and good shoes.
Good to use.
Good shoes, waterproof shoes, and a nice umbrella. Yeah, so, and it does get sunny sometimes. It doesn't rain every day. Another topic that has come in a lot in our questions feed and into our international mailbox over the last couple of weeks is scholarships. Okay, so we're getting a lot of questions from students about scholarships. Now, this year we changed our scholarships just a little bit, okay, because we've had so many applications coming in from so many amazing countries and amazing students this year. So every single postgraduate student that has accepted an offer from NUI Galway will be automatically considered for a postgraduate merit scholarship of €2,000. Okay, so we will be reviewing all of the applications that we've had in to date over the next couple of weeks. We're reviewing them at the moment. Because there have been so many applications and so many acceptances, it's taking that little bit longer than usual, okay? You'll find all of the details about when we're doing our reviews and the cutoff points on the website, okay? But we'll have 3 rounds of awards for the postgraduate scholarships, okay? So everybody who makes an application before the end of May, before the 31st of May, will be automatically considered for a merit scholarship of €2,000, regardless of where you're applying from or what course you're doing. Okay, so don't worry about making an application for that because you don't need to. Undergraduate students will need to submit a personal statement with their application to be considered for a merit scholarship of €2,000. Again, the details are listed on our website. For students who are applying for the country-specific scholarships, there will be a personal statement application required. We are accepting applications for students coming from China, Malaysia, Indonesia, India, and the United States at the moment, okay? The full fee waiver scholarships at the moment are for Indian students, okay? These would be the Sir Peter Frere Scholarship Scheme and the Max Arthur McAuliffe Scholarships, okay? These are full fee waivers for postgraduate students only, okay? So they cover 1 year of your full fees for a taught master's at NUI Galway. You are required to submit a personal statement, or sorry, I should say you were required to submit a personal statement to apply for one of these scholarships, but the applications are now closed. So everybody who applied before the deadline in March, okay, is now being considered for one of these scholarships, and we're reviewing them at the moment, okay? So we will be announcing the date when we are going to confirm the awards to the recipients probably next month, but it'll probably be around early June before everybody is notified, okay? If you stay tuned to our social media pages, we'll be letting everybody know when we're awarding them, and we will inform the award winners, okay, via email personally. Okay, so you don't need to email us for updates or anything like that. We will be confirming all, okay? When can we expect the results of scholarships is another question. I think I've just answered it there. And how can I get a scholarship to study at NUI Galway? So I think I've answered both of those questions. Yeah, okay. So guys, like I said, please keep an eye on our website for further information about the scholarships. But we will be informing students in and around the early June or late May, okay? Guys, just to wrap up our Before You Arrive session, I'm just going to hand over to Ashwin and Tarek to tell us a bit more about how they prepared for NUI Galway and to give us any more tips for you guys before you're actually going to come and visit us on campus. So have you any tips? I'll start with Tarek. Have you any tips for the students before they arrive?
Just do a little bit of research, like what you have to bring, what you don't have to bring. You don't have to bring much of stuff with you. You get everything here in Galway. But still, if anyone has like particular need for medicines, I would say, yeah, they should definitely get on it. Can
I just on a point on that, Tarek? That's a really, really good point. If you are bringing more than 3 months prescription medication into the country, you will be required to also bring with you a letter from your doctor, yeah, okay, with details on your prescription and what it is required for. Mm-hmm. Otherwise, you might have difficulties in customs with bringing in too much medication. Yeah. If you have any further questions about that, please contact the international office. Sorry, continue.
Yeah, thank you. So medicine was one point. Second thing was luggage allowance. So before you book your final ticket, before the departure, just make sure that you ask for additional luggage, which you may avail easily with the contact with the customer care of your airlines. You can get an additional luggage. Say if you are around 20, if you're allowed 20 kgs, you may get an additional 20 kgs. So that was quite handy for me. So that's it. And don't worry much about stuff because you'll be getting most of the stuff here. Even for India, like your beloved pressure cooker you'll be getting here. It's not a problem for you. We have Asian stores here. We have everything. So don't worry much about it. Don't overburden yourself. Just come here, see around, and then choose whatever you want. And then like later on, I asked my mom and dad to send me a parcel from India. So that's also an option. You can you can bring rest of your stuff, spices, whatever you want. So that's also an option. You can come, see around, and then if you feel like if you need anything more, you can ask them to send it across. It's easy.
Great. Thank
Ashwin, would you like to add anything?
Yeah, thanks, Tarek. I first congrats everyone who holds an offer of NUI Galway for this next academic year. I'd say just start off with the visa. Just please focus on your financial documents. So it's very, very important. If you have an offer, the next step is gonna get your visa done. As I mentioned, go through the document list. Make sure all your documents are get done on the prior date. Be on time on the visa embassy office, please. I was 10 minutes late, and though I was excused, be on time with the visa embassy office. So to be, the procedure takes one hour. I would say it depends on the crowd there. So get in with your visa. Then I don't want you to panic much about the accommodation and part-time opportunities. It's quite challenging, but it's not like very scary. There are accommodation thing. The universities accommodation office is really working hard to give better solutions for the international students. While going to a part-time, you have good part-time opportunities all over the Galway. If you keep on trying one, you will find one. So it's not that much hard to get into a part-time. So pack your stuff, be ready. Don't be get overexcited. Don't be stay relaxed, stay calm. Things will go away. Thanks.
So to add on one more thing, accommodation. I believe like accommodation living expense in Galway is comparatively lower to other cities across. So that's also a benefit for you because you can find accommodation in a reasonable price in Galway, which is very, very difficult, say in bigger towns like bigger cities like Dublin or Cork. It's very expensive. So I think it's manageable here. It's tough, but it's manageable.
And even if you're a little bit further out, you won't be that far out. Like you don't need to rely too much or budget on too much for public transport because you can walk a lot of places to a lot of the accommodation facilities off campus. You can walk to. It might be maybe a half an hour's walk away, but you can walk. And there are lots of really excellent cycle paths as well, and just regular paths for you to walk on and good roadways. So
I remember like getting my bike within 1 week after I arrived, so I never faced a problem.
Yeah.
And then you have good bus connectivity, which you get like on a concessional rate for students.
Yes.
So that's all. It's good stuff for you. You don't have to panic or worry much about accommodation and everything. Everything is manageable.
Great. Thank you very much.
And we have an excellent international office.
Yeah.
Excellent supportive international office for whatever you need. They're always there. So you should be utilizing them.
Great, brilliant. Okay, so thank you very much, Tarek and Ashwin. I'm going to swap Ashwin out for and one of our other students, Ramya, for the After You Arrive session. Thank you very much, Ashwin. Ramya, please take a seat.
Hello.
This is Ramya. She is studying a master's in climate change,
agriculture, and food
security. I had to get her to say that just in case I accidentally messed it up. So we're going to go through everything from your arrival and orientation now in the second session to getting a part-time job and getting a job after you finish, and then the overall student experience and your day-to-day student life. So some of the questions we got in from students around arrival and orientation. How many days prior to the beginning of the semester should international students arrive? Now, I think I kind of touched on this a few moments ago when we were talking about visas and getting your accommodation and all of that kind of stuff. So generally, if your orientation is on the 3rd of September, we would advise you to be there at least a week beforehand, potentially a little bit longer if you can. I think, is it 2 weeks you have, guys, with your visa that you can actually?
Yeah, so it's for 2 weeks that we get in advance. But I think if you come in 2 weeks early, 2 weeks or 1 week, then you'll be able to settle in, have a look around the city, make yourself familiar with the campus, and then find accommodation if you haven't.
Yes,
and even find part-time jobs.
First mover
move around the city.
First mover advantage.
Yeah.
I remember when I was in the international office last September, one of the first ever international students that came in she was from India, and she had sourced her accommodation on day 1 of arriving, so she had almost a full week to spend on fun things before she actually started her orientation. So she went to the Cliffs of Moher, she went on a boat trip, she went to Connemara. She had a really, really great first week. So that is something definitely to take into consideration, because once your college life starts, it gets very busy and your week is kind of blocked up with classes and tutorials and projects and assignments and things like that. So you know, if you do have a few extra days at the start,
and
it's
winter
no
would
harm.
not have started, so you can move around freely and adjust more to this
To this
environment,
weather
to this climate, you know,
Yeah,
once
to
you
the
come
climate.
from hotter countries.
Did you find that was difficult?
That was not difficult, because once we came in, the temperatures were like 18 to 20.
Yeah, they weren't too
Yeah,
low.
so they weren't too low. So that was kind of okay. And gradually it went down. So that was like a slow transition. So that was okay.
Great. Okay, so bring some jumpers for Christmas time. or you can buy them in pennies for about €10. so you cheapest
and the best.
yeah, so you'll be absolutely fine. And like a lot of the questions that we got in and around arrival and orientation are around when should I arrive. So I'm not going to read out all of them because they tend to be a little bit repetitive. But if you do have any question about when to arrive that it hasn't been covered so far, please do get in touch and let us know. What was I going to say? Immigration. Okay, so when you arrive, okay, you will need to register with the Garda National Immigration Bureau. You have about 30 days to register with GNIB, Garda National Immigration Bureau, and the cost of the registration is in and around €300. Okay, well, €300 exactly. Sorry. So regardless of whether you're coming from a visa-required country or not, you will need to register with GNIB, okay, and pay this €300 fee. To register with Garda National Immigration Bureau, you will need a passport. You will also need your student identity card, okay, which you will get the week of orientation. For postgraduate students, you'll get it from the student registration help desk, okay, and for undergraduate students, you'll be told exactly how you can get it during your orientation sessions. You'll need a number of other different information, especially the thing that's kind of especially difficult for students that are registering straight away is that you'll need proof of your residential address. Okay, so just to keep that in mind, maybe wait until you have your accommodation before you go to register with GNIB. Okay, but again, you'll get all of this information before you arrive.
And also the bank account details, because you'll have to pay through a credit card or a debit card.
Yeah.
So I would suggest wait until you get a proper accommodation and a bank account to proceed with the GNIB.
Brilliant. So there are actually 2 banks on campus. Okay, 2 different banks with branch offices on campus, which is really, really handy. Again, you'll be given all the information that you need on how to open a bank account when you do your orientation session, and you can pop into the international office for a letter if you need one, as well at any day. Okay, the opening hours for the international office vary, so you'll be given all of that information again on when you can collect your letters and all of that when you actually arrive. So don't worry too much about the small details. Those are things that we'll help you with once you do arrive. Another jobs. Okay, so a lot of students are asking us questions about jobs. So I'm just going to read out some of the ones that have come in on the chat so far. Does the college provide internships during or after courses? So this depends on what program that you're studying. Okay, every different program will vary. If you're doing an undergraduate application an undergraduate course, for example, all of our engineering subjects or courses will have internships built into them, and some of the other programs in the College of Business and Arts. So you should have that information before you actually make your application. But if you have any questions about your specific program, let us know. In relation to postgraduate programs, because they're mostly 1-year full-time masters, there is little opportunity to fit in an internship during your academic semester or year. Okay. It's a very short time to pack in a lot of very specialized information. However, some of our students actually complete internships when they finish the academic year as part of their program. Ramya is one of those students who's currently in the process of securing her internship. So I'll actually let Ramya talk you through her process and experience.
So a few courses have internships packed in their schedule for the master's degree, because it's like a 1-year master's, and it's difficult to put in all the internships and your exams and your courses, because you don't have 2 years normal length. And my course has an internship facility for like 3 months, but it totally depends on the organization. That they may take you for 6 months or a year. Some of my friends have taken for a year, and I'm in the process of getting an internship for 6 months right now. So I'll be going to Rome to work for the United Nations International Fund for Agricultural Development. So it's the UNEFED. So I just got a confirmation now just before this. So that, yeah, thank you.
Congratulations.
So that'll be for 6 months, So you'll the internship duration required to submit a thesis is 3 months, but an extension would be totally on your discretion. On what if the college helps you in acquiring internships is totally dependent on how you take it,
Yes.
Because nobody can take full responsibility for you if you don't.
Yes.
So
very good point.
Yeah. So if you have the initiative and you look around a bit, and if your course demands, the college will definitely
work with you.
Yeah, definitely work with you.
Yeah. But that is something to be aware of, guys. Okay, if you are wondering about a specific internship opportunity for your program, please do get in touch with your program director or your program team, the contact that you have for that course. Another way to find out interesting information about course content would be through our international student Facebook page and our groups. Okay, so for example, we have an Indian student community Facebook group, and a lot of our current students will be on that group available to give you very specific information about courses. We're not going to talk too much about specific courses today on this Hangout, because I'm conscious that there will be students applying or accepted for lots and lots of different types of programs, be it engineering, science, arts and business. Okay, so we won't go into all of that detail, but we may have an opportunity over the next couple of weeks to actually run similar Hangout sessions and Q&A sessions like this one for specific programs. Okay, so please stay tuned to our social media, and we'll advertise all of the upcoming Hangouts on that. Another question that we have in here, are there paid jobs opportunities available for international students? Okay, so the International Office and the university in general will not source a job for you before you arrive, a part-time job, okay? But there are lots of opportunities for you to source your own job. Galway is a kind of a cultural hub and a tourist hub. So we're really, really lucky that there are a lot of different part-time job opportunities available in the city, but it will be up to you to source your own part-time job. With your visa, if you're coming in on a visa, or even if you're not coming in on a visa, if you're coming in from a non-EU country and you register with the Garda National Immigration Bureau, you will only be able to work for up to 20 hours a week, okay? Around Christmas time and over the summer, you can work for 40 hours a week, but you'll get all of that information when you register with GNIB in relation to how many hours a week you can work and when the extended working hours actually kick in. Okay, so there are part-time opportunities. Again, we're not going to recommend that you source a part-time job right away. I think it is important when you arrive to focus on your studies and to give it a few weeks to see if you think that you can balance part-time work with your studies. I think that's very, very important.
That's very important.
Yeah.
Because your priorities should always be studies. You shouldn't
Yes.
focus on the part-time thing. But part-time jobs are available. You can make your work. You can make your way out. But what's important here is, if you are looking for a part-time job, you should be having prior experience.
Yes.
So whatever time you are left with now, if you can manage to secure some experience in that span of time, that will be beneficial for you. And even before coming here, you can look around for jobs. There are Facebook pages. There are online. There are online sources. Then on campus you have 3-4 restaurants. You have Blackstone, which provide internship opportunities. You have Launchpad, and you have some similar stuff where you can look for jobs in advance.
Yes.
And if it doesn't work out after coming here, you can just hunt around.
Yeah, there will be lots of opportunities for you to research and to do, a lot of talking to different people and networking and actually explore the opportunities once you do get here. But that is a good point as well about having experience. So any of the students that I've spoken to that had difficulty securing part-time jobs had difficulty because they weren't experienced before they got here. Okay, so do take that into consideration. A lot of the the part-time catering, working catering will require that you have like maybe previous waiting experience or something like that. Okay, so do keep that in mind before you arrive, just to manage your expectations a little bit about what options will be open to you. Okay, because there is quite a lot of competition. You will be one of at least 18,000 other students in the university, so do keep that in mind. But I wouldn't worry about that too much now. There are options out there if you would like to get a job. Another question that I have in here is, what are the job opportunities, or how are students, prepared for jobs, okay? And are there any job fairs on campus? So something that I always say to students is very similar to what Ramia just said there a minute ago. It's about what you make of it. So we have a very active career development centre here in the university, and we I suppose our students are very, very lucky because they actually hold weekly events on campus that are free for students to attend. Okay, so you'll have everything from like a CV clinic to an interview preparation workshop to actually meeting with employers. So our university is visited by over 400 different employers every single year. So there are lots of opportunities for you to meet industry professionals who can give you tips on how to prepare for your jobs or applying for a job. And then we have careers fairs that happen twice a year on campus as well, which is really, really handy because you can actually go and meet an employer, hand in your CV. Have you guys attended one of those yet?
Yeah. I attended both of them.
Yeah, both of them. So right when we came in, it was like really soon once we came in. And now there's a new initiative called the Weekly Job Market.
Weekly Job Market.
So in the concourse, it happens, some employers come in and let the students know if they want students over for summer or full-time or part-time or stuff like that.
Do you feel like there's a lot of support to prepare you for your career?
Exactly. CDC is very active here, I would say. They are super active in everything. They make you job ready, but you have to go and find a job. That's my point. They enable you. They bridge the gap between you and the employer. But it's you who has to cross the bridge and look out.
Exactly. So they give you all of the opportunities and resources that you need to prepare yourself. But the key is prepare yourself. Okay. So yes, the students are prepared for jobs and there are jobs fairs on campus. Another question that I've got in here is, after studies, are there ample opportunities in Galway or do we have to look out to move to Dublin? I would say, again, this comes down to personal preference. There are lots of opportunities for students to stay and work in Galway or progress to maybe a research master's or a PhD or something like that if they want to. We're a medical technology hub here in Galway, so we have 8 of the world's top 10 medical technology companies actually based in Galway, and 8 of the top 10 IT companies actually based in Galway as well. So we have lots and lots of industry partners that we work with either through the Career Development Centre or through our links with academics and our program directors and so on. So there will be ample opportunities for you to apply for set graduate programs, graduate schemes, or just full-time employment dependent on yourselves. Have you guys, well, I know you have an internship. Have you started researching employment opportunities?
For my summer program, I already have as a part of my course, half of it I have already done. It's with KPMG. So I'm lucky to have this as a part of my course. So because my course was very compact and very well designed course, like SAP integration, KPMG, like summer school analytics, everything. So luckily I don't have to look out for my program. But for the job prospects, yes, I have started applying and few are like positive responses, which I'll be pursuing after my completion of my degree.
Yes.
But I'm not worried much about for my job because all the European headquarters like Google, Facebook, Airbnb, everyone has the European headquarters in Ireland. So
yes,
if it's in Dublin or in Galway or in Dingle,
it's all close.
Yeah, it's all very close.
Yeah.
Ireland is a like pretty small thing, so you're pretty small place, so where you can travel easily, and I'm not worried much about it for now.
Exactly. And for example, we have companies like SAP, Accenture, KPMG, EA Sports or EA Games. They all have headquarters actually based here in Galway as well, which is really, really, handy for the students to know that there are a lot of industry partners very, very close proximity to the university, and there are lots of opportunities out there for you. Another question that we got in here around jobs, and it'll be the last one around jobs. Do international students really get work after their studies in Ireland? And how long is the post-study visa? So yes, the answer is yes, that we have an excellent employability rate at the moment. It is 98%. So that means that 98% of our students are either in full-time employment or further study 6 months after they graduate. Okay, so that is a really reassuring statistic to have. Previously, we were in around 96%, so that's just gone up this year. So in case you're looking and wondering, oh, that's not the figure that I saw. So it is increasing all the time, which is really reassuring for you guys, like I said. The visa that you can get to stay back, okay, and work in Ireland is 2 years long. So previously it was a year long. You can apply for this visa after you finish your studies, okay. You don't need to apply for a job that's, you know, exactly what you were studying in, okay, but you will need to prove that you have been actively seeking employment to get granted your second year visa, okay. So we'll give you, it's too far in advance to start worrying about that now. We'll give you all of the information that you need on how to apply for your stay back option later on. We even had a session about that earlier on today here in the university, okay. So don't worry, you'll get all of the I suppose, help and support that you need to apply for your stay back option, but it is 2 years long now, which is really, really useful for all of our international students to know. I'm going to move on to the student experience now very, very briefly, and I'm going to thank Tarek for his insight today. I think he was, you'll all agree, he was very, very helpful. And I'm going to introduce another one of our student ambassadors, Anish, and he's going to tell us about his student experience and his life in Galway so far. Thank you very much, Tarek. Hi Anish, how are you?
I'm fine. So what about you?
Good, thank you. I like your hoodie today. He's showcasing the Education in Ireland brand. So, and you got a haircut. So Anish is one of our Education in Ireland student ambassadors. So we have a number of student ambassador programs in the university. Tarek is one of our student Education in Ireland student ambassadors also. And both Ramia and Ashwin are also NUI Galway student ambassador. So there's two different types of student ambassador program that you can apply for when you actually enter NUI Galway. One is the NUI Galway student ambassador program, and the other is the Education in Ireland ambassador program, which is run by Education in Ireland. So I'm going to go through some questions, and then Anish is going to tell us a little bit about his experience, and Ramia will tell us a little bit about hers. But first, I'm going to go through some of the questions that have come in advance. Student life. How is life in general at school? Guys, I think this is one for you. I work here, so I'm not going to give that one.
Sure, thanks. So the definition of school is pretty different when it comes down to comparing a school or an institution in India to what we have here in Ireland. It's fun, first thing. There are too many facilities. I think we have spoken about it for the last 30-40 minutes about it, be it societies, clubs, career development center, business schools, and rest of the things. But the typical life is, of course, studies are #1 priority, and that's where part-time work comes into picture, which is secondary to our main motive. But lectures are amazing, absolutely amazing. The lecturers bring their unique insights to the class. They literally teach us. At the end of the day, every time we're sleeping, you'll realize that there's something new which I've learned today. It's beautiful. When it comes down to commute and stuff, Galway is a very easy place to commute. Fortunately, it's a small city. Yeah. So bus are many times reliable, yes, 80% of the time. And fortunately, the fare for the bus throughout the city is constant. It's 150. So you can, wherever your house is, you can just come here in 15-20 minutes to the university, be it 11th hour, and do the lectures. The library is amazing. You'll be surprised to know the number of facilities which library has. You just study there throughout the day if you want, if you have an off day, and at the end of the day, you can just head back home and cook for yourself. That's a typical day, which we have.
And how many hours a week would you be studying now with your course?
Currently, I have around 15 hours of classes, but that includes tutorials and rest of the stuff as well.
Okay, and then a lot of the rest of the time you'll be spending on projects and study.
Yeah. Assignments is a major part. I'll assume that most of the students currently on the Hangout have applied for postgraduate courses. So one of the most important part of a postgraduate course is that group assignments. You'll be having 3 to 4 modules on which you are sharing the assignment with your group members. You'll be having meetings constantly throughout the semesters. You need to make sure that your part is done. You need to edit it. You need to submit those assignments. It's fun activity. I love it. I absolutely love it.
Good.
The group dynamics and rest of the stuff. It's amazing.
It's interesting. It's a learning curve for sure. And how many hours a week would you have, Ramia, with your course?
Yeah, I would have around the same of 15 to 20 hours a week, and then the rest is of assignments and self-study.
Yeah. And group projects?
Yeah, we don't have group projects in our course. We just have like one or two group projects.
Okay.
That's it. We don't have much of them. Yeah. And students will learn more about the online learning platform called Blackboard, which we had never used in India. So it's like really handy. Wherever you are, you can access your study materials that the instructors post, and you can post your assignments online for them to grade them. So that's really an very easy platform, a very handy platform.
Great. And one of the questions we actually got in online was regarding study materials, now that you brought it up.
Yeah.
Are we required to bring any specific books from India or our country?
No.
So no, the answer. Don't worry about that. You'll be given all of your all of your study materials and your reading lists and all of that when you arrive. And I know Anish mentioned the library facilities are absolutely super. So you shouldn't actually need to bring anything or buy any major textbooks or anything like that once you actually get here.
And the library has access to so many of the journals and all the books we need access to. Yeah, so it's really easy with the library.
Great. And moving on to the next question that we got in from students, what's the best way to get in touch with other international students coming into the same program? So I suppose from my perspective, we have an international office Facebook page, which is Study Abroad at NUI Galway. Okay, so if you want to get in touch with us that way, you can. And then we have a group, for example, I know we have a lot of Indian students coming in this year. So we have a specific group for Indian students to communicate with each other and talk about programs and opportunities and any questions that they might have. But the guys might give you a little bit of their perspective as to how they got information about the university and met students before they arrived.
So we usually had chats on the Facebook group. That was official, and that's the only thing that's monitored by the international office. So that should be your main guidelines sort of thing, because nowadays we have lots of WhatsApp groups in the Facebook which are being monitored only by the students. They have created it by themselves, because maybe they have created it based on their regions or their courses. But the official page, if the university wants to communicate anything to you,
it will be
that's
through
the page.
Facebook.
That's the thing. And if you want to ask anything, Facebook, or you could just do it via email.
Yeah, that's absolutely fine. So the Facebook group that we have at the moment, like Ramia said, it's a really good point. That is the only group that is officially monitored by international office staff of NUI Galway. Okay, so if you want to join any other groups, that's absolutely up to you. That's fine. But please do note that we're not monitoring or managing any of those groups. So the content is not regulated by the university, just to keep in mind.
From my perspective, I think if someone wants to reach out to the students who have already accepted the offers, the NUI Galway India group, as Saif and Ramya mentioned, that is one of the best platforms. However, in order to get any insights from the alumni, I always find LinkedIn to be an amazing source. I have always suggested to the prospective students who have posted the questions in the group that you just have to Google your course name and university. For instance, if it's strategy management, you just Google MSc Strategy Management NUI Galway, and you'll have a lot of names coming in your LinkedIn search section. And you can actually look up to the people who have already completed the course. And if you need any specific insights, you can just message them. Of course, this has to be approached in a formal way. That's how you make sure that you will have a response in a much more proper way. So that is one of the things that you can look out to. And as Ramya mentioned, WhatsApp group, yes, there are it's sometimes they are helpful, but NUI Galway India or Study Abroad at NUI Galway Facebook groups are amazing source of information for you to come here.
Great, and we will be communicating with you more and more as it gets closer to your actual arrival date. So don't worry about any of that, okay? And don't forget that orientation is a really, really good way to meet other international students when you actually get here. One of the things I will mention to you guys is if you're staying in on campus or off campus accommodation, a lot of the Irish students actually go home at the weekends because Ireland is very small, so they can travel an hour or 2 hours away home for the weekends. Not everybody does, but some students do. So just to be aware of that, okay, that sometimes you know, if you're staying with a lot of Irish students in your house, that perhaps you might be on your own in the house at the weekends. So it's really, really important to actively engage in the social aspect of the university life, okay, and join as many clubs and societies as you can throughout your time here. So I'm going to get Anish to talk a little bit more about, you know, clubs and societies and all of the opportunities that you have. And my colleague, unfortunately, Ramia has to go because she has a very important appointment, and I'll tag in Tarek back in. Thank you so much, Ramia.
So when it comes down to societies and clubs, one of the things that I have stressed a lot upon in my blogs as well is do not miss the orientation week. It's amazing. It's the one thing that is the 1 week that I still haven't forgotten. And you will have lots of societies and clubs who will be showcasing their basically membership and everything throughout the university. You'll be able to join them. And one of the things which you touched upon, that during orientation week you'll be able to meet a lot of international students. So I remember on second or third day of my orientation week, we had 2 orientations. First one was for everyone who was present there for postgraduates, and the next one was just for international students. And when I was sitting in that hall, you'll know that hall, Bailey Hallen, it would be your everyday name once you get here. There were 600 students who were sitting with me, and that's when I realized I'm not alone. It's a good, comforting feeling that you have so many international students around you from various countries for various courses. Even there are some undergrads, some who are just for Erasmus. It was a very comforting feeling. And on the same evening, we had a very unique session called a speed friending.
Yeah,
so wherein it was so beautiful that it was a huge table on which we all were sitting, and we were talking to each other in turns. It was an amazing evening. I'm still in touch with a couple of friends from that.
Yeah.
So yeah, you'll be able to get in touch with international students right away once you step here.
And we have a global lounge that's open at the weekends now and Saturdays for students to actually meet other international students and hang out at the weekends if they feel like they don't have a lot to do. And you'll be given all of that information again when you get here and during orientation and online. I don't want to repeat myself too much, but you know, this information will be thrown at you at various different stages over the next couple of months. So it's just to be aware of what's out there and what's coming. One of the other questions that I got here would be, what are the common modes of transport that students use inside the campus? So inside the campus, your legs. So there is a shuttle bus that takes you from our on-campus student accommodation kind of down further to the rest of campus, but generally students can walk absolutely everywhere. And again, we touched on the transport conversation a good bit already, so I won't dwell on that too much. Another question that has come in: does entry to the gym require paid membership? So yes, that is unfortunately the answer. However, you can pay yearly or monthly or just for classes, so you don't need to actually sign up for a year-long membership if you don't want to, or 6 months or an academic year. You can actually just go and pay per class if you want to. If there's something like spinning or something like that you want to go to. And one of our students made me aware a while ago that if you want to join one of the different clubs and societies, that you can use it for free.
Yeah, if you're playing cricket for your club, for your club of the college, so it's free for you. If you're playing, like I played volleyball for a bit, so it was free for me. The access was free for me. So that's also helpful for you. And there are special student schemes in the gym, student subscriptions. So that's discounted for the students only.
So very reasonably priced.
Very reasonably priced, yeah. And the gym is excellent.
Yeah, it's good gym. And a swimming pool and fitness classes and a climbing wall and pitches and outdoor pitches and everything. It's really, really special.
And clubs are like super.
Yeah.
Like I was a part of mountaineering and hiking club, which I really enjoyed.
And that gets you to get outside and explore Galway and Ireland.
Explore Galway, Ireland. They go on trekking. They have social nights. They go on trekking, hiking. Then they have some monthly regular events. So it's fun.
And it's a really good way to meet friends, isn't it?
Yeah, make friends here. Like I love traveling and exploring. Like quite a bit. In my Christmas break, I traveled quite a bit. Like I got the opportunity to travel to 5 countries, like in 20 days. So it was a very good experience for me. Otherwise, also I love traveling, exploring. So that's the best way. Join whatever is your obsession, whatever is your passion. Just join that society, and we have society for everything. Believe me, we have like right from Harry Potter to whatever you want to name it.
Tea drinking.
Tea drinking, everything.
And we have a very active Indian student society. We have a Chinese student society, an international student society. everything.
Everything.
Yeah, and there are cultural events as well tied in
Yeah.
around the student societies. Like we had a Holi festival, and we had
Chinese New Year.
Chinese New
Chinese
Year,
New Year,
we had
Holi, Diwali.
Diwali. Yeah,
Diwali.
there's like I recently travelled to China, and before I left, I discovered that we had during the Chinese New Year, the Chinese Lantern Festival, there were dumpling making workshops happening on campus and things like that. So you know, we do get very involved in all the fun aspects of the cultural integration as well, which is really good to know, and that is something that is really important. If you're coming from outside of Ireland and you're really used to, you know, I suppose, home comforts, that you won't need to be too worried or concerned that you won't be able to find something like that here. Okay, so you will always find some kind of a support.
Home away from home.
At home away from home, exactly.
Galway.
And if you do feel like there is anything that you're ever concerned about, I mean, we do have a number of various different student supports available to all of our students. Okay, so whether it's the health centre or the mental health services that we offer, or just having somebody to meet up and talk to, you know, all of these supports will be available to all of our students, regardless of where you're coming from. But we do have a dedicated international student officer as well that is available. So if you're feeling homesick, or you have a question, or you'd like to, you know, be introduced to maybe some of our other international students, we can help you with that. So really don't worry. Is there anything else, guys, that you feel like you want to cover today that you think students might need to know?
One of the things that most of the Indian students, I'm sorry, I'm addressing most of the Indian students because I believe that's
a lot of the students on today will be coming from India.
One of the things that is Indian food, and I was pretty worried about it, but believe me, each and every store has a lot of Indian food, and surprisingly it's quite cheap, reasonable at least.
Yeah.
And you'll get everything here, so don't worry about it. Just a heads up, learn cooking. That's one of the things, but it's good.
Start getting some lessons from your families.
Yeah, I was very surprised to know that even you get Indian food on campus. Our college cafeteria twice or thrice a week serves Indian food. A very delicious curry. I had an opportunity to have that. So food is something which most of the students have reached out to me. What is the food scenario? So I've told them it's completely fine, nothing to worry about.
And that is also relevant to students that aren't coming from India. So if you're coming from, you know, China, or there won't be a lot of Chinese students on the Hangout today, or from the US or from Malaysia or from Indonesia. You know, we do try and integrate as many different international cuisines into the student cafeteria menus as regularly as we can. And there are, like you mentioned a while back, some various different Asian food stores and ethnic food stores around the city as well, for you to get a lot of supplies if you feel like you want to prepare yourselves your own dinners.
NUI is a place where what I realize is where we just don't study. We learn, we live, we love, we grow in every aspect. So that was my experience, one of my lifetime experiences, which I will always remember. And I wish the same for, you know, all of the prospective students coming now. So
great.
That was my part.
Thank you very much. Will you have anything to add before we finish up?
That would be all. I mean, one of the things that I'm still in touch with many students who are reaching out to me regarding queries, and one thing that I realized was a common thread was everyone was very anxious. And it's easier said than done if I tell you that don't be anxious, everything will work out, because I was in the same shoes a year back. But there's just one message that you'll go through it, don't worry. Just swim across for a couple of months. Once you get here, everything is easy. University student services are amazing. They make your life very easy. It's just that you have to get up and start running. That's it. So don't be scared. Don't be anxious. Plan your things out. Exactly.
Prepare.
Plan your things out. Visa is something which I'm sure you must have covered already. It's a mammoth task. But once you have the visa in your hand, the smile on your face would be $1 million worth. Believe me. It'll work out in the end, and just hang in there. But make sure that you plan everything properly. Keep your calm, and just everything will work out.
Just like anxious, and I'm like having more than 100 message requests on my Facebook and everything.
89 in my case.
So we try to answer as much as possible. So, and if you have any more questions after the session, feel free to contact us. I will try my best to address all of them
Yeah. But
On
just
this-
to note, guys, sorry to interrupt you there, Anish, that these guys are volunteering to help us answer queries as student ambassadors. We really appreciate their help and to answer your queries, but they won't be able to reply to absolutely everybody all of the time because, as you mentioned on a number of different occasions throughout this hangout, you know, their studies have to come first. And so we will attempt to answer all of your questions as soon as we can, but
Yes.
just note that,
Thank you,
you know,
Sai.
it can
Thank
take
you.
a little bit of time,
Thanks, Sai.
okay? No problem.
One thing on the similar lines that Tariq mentioned about the doubts that we receive. One of the constant thing that I mentioned was students ask pretty much of obvious things. Like I recently had a question about how is the weather in Galway, and literally I had to type in that just check Google weather because these are the I can understand that doing a master's abroad, so many finances are at stake. We tend to get as much information as possible, but don't overthink it. That is one of the things which I had to stop myself from. And even for a month or two, I rolled out emails and messages to students who are currently studying it. And I had doubts very micro in nature. And that might be quite annoying at times because those are the things which eventually work out. It doesn't matter. So don't overthink it. You have got an offer, good. If you haven't, you're waiting for it. Just hang in there, it'll work out for you. Don't overthink it. Overthink will just add to your anxiety. It's not going to do any good to you. And whatever information you're looking for, most of the information is available online.
Yeah.
For instance, most of the, I guess, I was just going through the chat comments, and you were looking for job prospects for specific course. As I mentioned earlier, just Google MSc Business Analytics on LinkedIn and look out where are the students placed. That is your answer. These are the prospective opportunities that I can get into.
That's a really good point.
So this is as simple as that. You don't have to weight everything on that one factor and eat your brain about it. That what are job prospects? I don't know. Everything is available online. Each and every doubt that you pose to us, we try to address it as much as possible. Or you roll out to the Facebook groups. Everything is available online. You just have to open your laptop, play some nice songs, and get the thing done. Don't worry.
Great. And just to sum it up there, guys, I know we talked a lot about all the different opportunities that the university will provide for you, but really, I know we mentioned it once or twice, it's all about how you take the opportunities and make the best possible outcome for yourself. So, you know, we'll provide you with all of the tools that you need to succeed, but it's up to you to actually use them and to get there in the end. So please don't worry. And if you have any further questions, like we mentioned, you know, please do feel free to send them in. If you want to send them via Facebook or in the chat at the moment, we'll do our best to get back to absolutely everybody. And we will be making this video available as a download, okay, and we'll put it up on our Facebook page and we'll send it to you. Everybody who has accepted their offer or anybody who is holding an offer at the moment, we'll send you an email with the attachment. Okay, so best of luck with everything and thank you so much for your time today. I hope you enjoyed it.
See you soon.
Cheers.